Thanks so much, and thanks for Embody Lab to having me as well here. I love teaching at Embody Lab. I do a lot of courses here and classes, so I really love this community. Yeah, today I was going to give you some cliff notes about what innate somatic intelligence trauma therapy is. It's a kind of a name, I call it ISITA because it's a mouthful, but it really is a body of work that came out of all my loves and my studies and my teachings and various modalities. And I want to just name them because every teacher stands on the shoulder of other teachers and other lineages and other traditions. And so do I. The big one is Hakomi, of course. I'm a Hakomi trainer. I've been doing that for over 20 plus years. And Hakomi is very instrumental and has informed me as a psychotherapist and as a human being, really. But this work really started to arise because I was newly minted a Hakomi teacher and had all my interests in trauma. I was really interested in trauma. And so my mentors at the time said, "Hey, why don't you do a presentation?" I never meant to become a teacher of somatic psychology. I had other plans. But it was this one mentor of mine who said, "Hey, why don't you bring your knowledge of what you learned about trauma into the Hakomi work?" And that was the seed. And it was ever since then that I really began to work with Hakomi as my base, as my method, and then began to develop and bring other pieces into the work that I now call Isita. Another big shoulder I stand on is Continuum. Continuum is a body of work that was developed by Emily Conrad and Susan Harper. It's a movement-based inquiry practice working with very subtle, fluid energies and movements in the body, and we're going to do some of it today. And then also, I'm very informed by movement therapy and expressive arts therapy. That's one of my early trainings. Another shoulder I stand on is dharmic and Taoist ideas of especially around compassion teachings and loving kindness. So that also influences my work. And then also systems thinking. So living systems, nature systems, like how interactions, relational systems of humans. So how we as human beings are embedded in all kinds of systems. So that's also very much what informs my work. And then going back, somatics has a long lineage. It's become very popular, somatic therapy, and I'm so happy. I've been in this field for over 30 years, and I'm really happy it's gaining attraction, really. I just found out that there is even a dating site that uses somatic techniques. It's like, yes, that's great. So somatics is really having its day. And we have to acknowledge that these somatic practices have indigenous roots. They go way back then. Psychology, and it really they go back to earth-based practices, relationship to the earth, relationship to the earth as body, our body in relationship to earth. So I want to kind of honor that because we forget that when we get all technical and therapeutic about it, that really this is where it goes back to. And I can sum up my whole presentation into you have the intelligence within you. You do. Every human does. Every human does have somatic wisdom. And it's been true with every client, every student, every group that I've sat with. And then it's just a matter of how do we touch it? How do we bring it forth? How do we have the person recognize it? But we all have it. And to me, that's a very hopeful message. I deal a lot with trauma. I teach on trauma and trauma techniques, and I'm very practical about what to do. But I don't lose sight that that's innate in every human, no matter how big the trauma is, no matter how big the confusion or the suffering is, um, no matter how, quote, untreatable the client is, they have an innate wisdom. And I think that's a very different lens to hold than the psychopathology of like, oh, this person has, all these different, anxieties and depressions and, PTSD. And these are all helpful classifications and ways of understanding people's behaviors and symptomology and problems. But I like to locate myself into a much more heartful lens, which is that everybody possesses that kind of innate wisdom, even if they do some pretty horrible stuff out in the world. So to me, that helps me to be resourced as a therapist. It helps me also to look for where's the intelligence in the person. Where is that? Yeah, so it's a frame that I want to just offer. So what I thought we'll do is we'll do a very short kind of dropping in meditation to get us grounded and connected and arrive in your innate somatic intelligence. And then I give you a little bit of an overview of what I'm thinking and what the components are. And then I want to highlight one aspect in particular that I teach in this work. I teach a whole training on ISIT, which is about the therapist seat. So I want to say a few things about that. And it's, I think, maybe a helpful takeaway. I assume everybody is in the healing field here of some sort, a therapist, a coach, a psychologist, a helping human. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Yeah. And a helping human also means helping yourself. Um, it's all of that. When we're helping others, helping ourselves, we need access to these tools. Okay. So let's just start, if you are willing, with a short practice into our body. And when I offer, in the way I like to teach, when I offer, there are always invitations. If something else shows up inside and you go like, ooh, this is so interesting, go with that. Your teacher is your body is your teacher. But I'm basically giving you a little pathway in. Yeah. So take a moment where you are and just feel your physical posture. And you might want to cast your eyes down or close them. I'm going to close them as well so I can talk to you from my soma. And just take a breath, the first breath to arrive even in that awareness of connecting with your body. First breath goes to connecting with awareness. Second inhale and exhale goes to letting things just simply go. If you're preoccupied with where you just were, coming in, hurried, lazy, whatever it is, stressed, just letting that go. And third breath, I'd like you to direct your attention now to your body as this intelligence. So just greet your body. You can even say, hello, intelligent organism. Hello there. Bring a kind voice to your body for a moment, greeting yourself. So you're welcoming your body, your mind, your spirit, your heart. The whole being is invited. And just notice as we're feeling that invitation to be exactly who and how we are in this moment is just perfect. With all our imperfections, it's just perfect. And see if you can locate yourself in that and notice if there's a little part coming up, but I have this and I have injury and I have that. Notice the laundry list of not good enough or how you put yourself down. And gently, gently say, you can come too, but I'm going to be sitting right now and receiving myself as an intelligent organism. There is a wholeness about myself, even though I'm working on all kinds of inner projects, but there's a wholeness to myself. Just feel that. And see if there are parts in the body that begin to soften. Maybe your belly unclenches a little bit, or your jaw eases, or the frown on your forehead becomes a little softer. Perhaps the back of the neck stretches up and eases. The shoulders drop down. The whole back perhaps relaxes and straightens at the same time. The ground underneath you arises where you can simply rest with exactly who you are in this moment. All of you is welcome. all of you is welcome. And so just feel that when you're inviting yourself in, we're inviting each other in. Feel that all of you is welcome. Notice if there's a little pushback inside. See if you can ease that up. And then bring a breath to wherever there needs to be a little bit more opening. Gently direct a breath there. And you can put a hand if you like. But gently invite the breath to come to the places that are not quite on board yet. Gently invitation. So we're inviting ourselves breath by breath, awareness by awareness, touch by touch. Taking another moment, feeling that invitation. And then see if there's really truly a part in you that says, yeah, I am actually a whole, intelligent human being. Feel that. Feel into that reference point. That's true about me as well. And notice what the somatic experience of that is. What's the shape of that? And then gently let yourself come out of that shape and that practice and begin to stretch or open your eyes and look around, yawn, twist, whatever you like. Thank you for your practice. And then let's greet each other from this place. How are you now? How are you coming in? Is there an image, a feeling, a tone, a quality? So how are you coming in from that more whole intelligence of you? What's that feel like? Please put a couple of chat in there. So I get a feeling for where you are. Mhm. Soft, relaxed, joy, receptive, soft. Yes. Yes. Inner spaciousness. All of me is welcome. That's a really good mantra, all of me is welcome. All of me is welcome. How many of you, and you can just, those of you on the screen can just give a hand up, but how many of you feel like you live sometimes in a part of you? Like, oh, this is not good and that's not good. Yeah, right. We all do that. We kind of splinter ourselves into these different parts, and it's really important work to recognize that. But we also forget that we are actually a very beautiful, interconnected whole system. Yeah, we don't reference that. Yeah, remembering your value, gratitude, beautiful. Yes, exactly. So we forget that. And that's actually accessing an energy, it's accessing a heartfulness, it's accessing a kind of holistic view, and we're starting from that. So when I sit with a client, I'll give them that attitude, literally. I'm not giving them an attitude, I'm giving them that attitude. But like there's this whole human being, they've been through tremendous suffering, right? They feel all kinds of things and fractured inside. But if I sit as the therapist in this kind of what I could call an abundance mindset, yeah, an abundance, and bring that in, it sets up a very different experience. There's a warmth, there's a presence, there's an invitation, there's a like unspoken quality of like, I know you've been through a lot, but that's not at all of who you are, right? I see deeper than all of the horrible experiences you've gone through, and it's not defining you. And that's really important. In trauma, we often get to work, we want to get people out of their trauma. But those are helpful tools we bring. But if we don't meet the humanity of this whole human, There's dignity in there. There's respect. There's appreciation. There's knowing that there's so much more. There's hope. Yeah. So I think these are really important qualities. So we as a therapist, we need to sit in that. We need to sit in that mindset towards ourselves. How many of us get into this job because we feel like we're like a big work in progress? Right? Yeah, exactly. So we get into this line of work because, oh, we're going to figure some stuff out about mom and dad and my ancestors and what's going on in the world, right? We try to figure all that out and we get into therapy work and trauma work. And then we find out, oh my God, I have all these diagnoses and I have all of these things, right? We feel like, oh my God, I'll never get there. But what if you're already there? What if you're already there? I would just have a few projects to work on. So that attitude is really, I've learned that both from my dharmic influences, but also from Hakomi. In Hakomi, we believe in the inherent wisdom, the inherent knowledge of humans. And in the ISIT work, that's really what I extend also into the somatic intelligence. Our body actually knows. Our body gets confused, it gets stuck in trauma, gets all those happens, but it also has a deep, deep, deep knowledge. Just as earth has knowledge, the elements have knowledge, right? Ancient cultures have knowledge. We have knowledge that's living within us. We come from a lineage of all these humans living in all these different terrains. If we traced your ancestry beyond the 12 generations of epigenetics, if we traced your ancestry, there's so much knowledge embedded in that. People who lived in in harmony with the elements. Yeah? That's all in you. It's all in your cellular knowing.